Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Investor Podcast. For those of you who are new here, I am a former energy trader. I traded oil and natural gas and electricity for almost 12 years. And then I took a break, scrambled my life up a bit, started writing, and then someone asked me to help them with money. And I did, and it ended up turning out great. But I knew when I helped them with money that I needed to do it the way that I had built wealth, which is a combination of utilizing the 3D world, the financial principles, if you will, and bringing those back into the 3D and using the tools, but really pulling down the energy of money and designing it based on me and my way. And now here we are 8 years later. And I've had this podcast for 5 years with the goal, which is always, this is the thing, when you get a plan that's from within you, then you can have full certainty in it, which I've talked a lot about on this podcast, actually. So if you want to know more about that, go back to some of the really recent episodes. But when you have full certainty on something, that is because it came from within you and you don't feel like you need to go out and ask other people. And so that has exactly what has happened here. And the design of this podcast being the same from the beginning, because I was certain that with every episode, the goal is to help you move one step forward in terms of seeing yourself and being able to step into the space of effortless wealth, because that's really the difference. People talk about like this old world paradigm and the new world paradigm. Well, it's actually the same. But, for comparison, sometimes it helps to bring language in that's comparative in order to kind of see ourselves a new way. When we get into lack with comparative language is when we bring in judgment or I didn't do this the right way or blah, blah, blah. And so being able to kind of see this as, okay, well, if you talk about old world and new world paradigm, especially related to money, I would say the old world is you're getting money in. And so you're going out there and having to do something for it. You're trading time or there's some type of sacrifice involved. And that's fine. That's the way that it was for a while. And that's great. And then there's the new world, which is you're creating the space to invite money or whatever type of abundance that you want in. Okay, before we get into this episode today, I want to share something with you. The next round of the Spiritual Investor Mastermind, it starts in May 5th to be exact. This is a container that is literally mind-blowing. I mean, even around the third week, you're going to be like looking back on yourself. Really, it's the IV drip of kind of the experience that you would have gotten here, or if you've been in any of the groups. It's really, really a way for spiritually conscious investors to stop circling the edges of their wealth and to actually go vertical. We go deep into the markets. We go into intelligent portfolio design. I teach you how to, you don't necessarily have to take all this risk in order to make money. You don't necessarily have to love the market and be checking it every day. I teach you how to integrate it into your life as something that you enjoy and you apply your creativity with. I watch every single cohort. I watch people be able to get to a stage where they're literally looking back on a version of themselves who made less money, who was afraid to invest, and they're saying, I don't recognize that person anymore. We do have payment plans for it, so don't think that it's something that's going to be out of your reach. The spots are limited in it and it's always full. So that's why I want to bring it up now, let you know. Just go to thespiritualinvestor.com, fill in an application. It'll be in the show notes as well. So, all right, I will see you in the room there. So let's get started. Let's jump into this episode. We're going to do a couple things today that I think is going to help you literally at the end of this episode to be able to go out there and be a greater space for more wealth. Two of them. One of them is what is going on out there currently in terms of the volatility. A lot of people are unfortunately in fear, which I always try and, okay, there's no reason for you to be afraid. So what's going on out there in terms of volatility? what do I see are the opportunities out there, though? Because that's the thing. Volatility doesn't mean anything bad. It just means that, okay, there's a moment for that you can step in. And also, how would I bring down the energy of money in a case like this? Um, because what we're wanting is we're wanting to live the effortless way, live the way where we're literally like whatever is meant to is coming through us. And we are transmuting that energy into the utilization of the 3D tools in the real world. So, we're going to talk about those two things. And also, thank you, by the way. Thank you for allowing me the space to be certain about helping people, and also the allowing in of helping you. I know I've gotten a lot of messages recently on how this just resonates with you, and sort of you didn't even really know that something out there could sort of create this momentum for you in this way. So I'm really grateful to be in your space with this. So, and I've been doing a lot of interviews lately. So I've been allowing in not only just it's like you can feel the host, right? You can feel the host of these amazing podcasts, and then behind them and within them is the energy of all of the people. And so that's helping me. We talk about like abundance is full circle. It's helping me because I'm writing a book right now. I am doing a lot of more traveling for these in-person podcasts, and it's giving me the space and the ability to look at myself inside of this. And it's interesting too, because even within our mastermind, one of the calls last week, I just dropped into, oh my God, I'm talking to myself, right? And so I grow within these containers too. So thank you for allowing me to be part of this co-creation. Okay, so let's talk about what would a conscious investor do in a moment like this when we have all this stuff going on around us? We've got politics, we've got cost of living, we've got uncertainty as well as far as the future, given AI and all the sort of things that could or could not happen with that. So as a conscious investor, I would recommend that you look at three. You can either say aspects of your life or questions, however you want to frame this. I'm always encouraging you to take this language and take it and put it into your words so that it's more connected to you. So the first thing is, what do you want the market to do for you right now? And when you ask yourself that, don't think about what the market is doing, because that's always coming from a place of it's somehow not right. And if it's somehow not right, part of your energy is being split into having to fix something. So, what do you want the market to do for you right now? And how do you see the market fulfilling that for you right now? So, really, really put yourself in that place, whether you pause this or you come back to this or maybe write these down. The second one is, where are you positioned in your life now to be able to step into opportunities in the market or in other areas of your financial life? Wealth is positioning. I've done whole podcasts on this. When this is all just a game of musical chairs, and so that's why I'm always saying that financial freedom, it equals diversification, because you never know what the amount is that you're going to need, and you never know what's going on in your life either. You might have a sick child, or something might happen, or you might just decide that you're different and you want to fly around on private jets, and all of that's okay. But life is dynamic and ever changing. That's the only truth, is that everything changes. So wealth comes into those who are positioned. That's really one of the biggest secrets out there. And that's the biggest difference between wealthy people and people who are poor. People who are poor are always sort of making it work, and they feel successful when they've made it work. Well, wealthy people are positioning themselves to invite in whatever they desire, because they don't have split energy on making it work. So big difference there. So how are you positioned? And if you're not positioned exactly where you want to be right now to take advantage of, say, the market or real estate or anything like that, then where do you wish that you were? Not from a place of judging yourself, but just from well, maybe that's my action item. People are always looking for a plan, and people think that, like, in order to be a really great investor, that you have to be detail oriented and you have to, like, live in a spreadsheet and love stocks. There's nothing that is less true than that. That is a complete story and an illusion. Um, in fact, your plan should, if you're really, really utilizing, like I said, pulling down the energy and then going back into the 3D and using the tools, then your plan really should come from questions like, if I'm not positioned, what would I like to be different right now, from a place of money neutrality. Another thing that I talk a lot about. But okay, the third thing is, where is the point of ease? So this came up also in the mastermind with um, the greatest opening to money is money neutrality. That is where money is unstoppable, and that is where everything is effortless to you. And when I say everything is effortless, that doesn't mean it's always effortless. That means, in general, you've already put it in motion and your momentum is carrying it, not your to-do list. So that's a big differentiator there. So your easiest point of calling in money, inviting in money, is actually that point of the amount of money in which you would feel ease. And I know this to be true because this was the success of me building wealth. I decided that, when I was working on the trading floor, I wanted to buy my way out of it, but I didn't want to go down to zero income. I'd already done the backpacking thing and seeing all the country, I traveled all over, saw all these countries. And I was like, no, when I leave my corporate job, I want to leave and live at the same level I'm living at now. Then I'll figure out something new, and that'll just kind of add on top. Because that felt, even now I can feel that felt at ease, right? So that was two things: to cover my cost of living, monthly cost of living, and to finish out my long-term retirement. Well, that happened even faster, and I ended up retiring at 39. I found money neutrality, though, and I operated the entire time from money neutrality, instead of operating against myself, which is, what are the returns? What is the achievement? Like, none of that stuff is very fun for me. I'm not into, like, the grind and challenging myself to the point where I need to be miserable and digging up willpower and all that. Like, I just don't believe that there needs to be sacrifice in order to be wealthy. And I'm talking about at any point, because, I feel like there is a better plan, and I'll get into that a little bit later on. But where is that point of ease? So that is actually your effortless wealth point. And that is whether it's an amount or having the check boxes done like I did for myself, where is that you'll just feel at ease? Because any amount of money that you have coming in that's below that it's going to contain resistance, because you're not being real with yourself, that it's not really what you want. You're just kind of like settling for it. So there's going to be resistance. And especially if your cost of living is even above your income, there's going to be constant stress about that to a certain degree, because that's just, we came here to live in a 3D world. And part of our agreement here is that money is the transactional element that we, just like feeding ourselves or drinking water or whatever, there's certain agreements that we had, right? Okay. Also, anything above that amount for ease is going to be it's going to be higher in what I call the believability ladder, because you want to believe that, and you might say all these affirmations and visualizations and da da da. And maybe that works for you, but for the most part, what I see is that just becomes something that people repeat, that they don't really believe in their body. And the universe is not listening to your language. The universe is listening to your energy. You are the one that's listening to your language, because it's only you, and you're always just having an internal dialogue. That's why when you say words like, this is too expensive, so you're talking to yourself, and you're also talking to your children, and you're talking to all the people around you, and your body is carrying that it's too expensive. And so across the board, you are creating a frequency that your money is matching you perfectly to, it's too expensive. Now, what you do is you may go out and you buy something like a nice car or a nice bag or whatever. Energetically, though, when you're signing that paperwork or swiping that credit card, your energy is still not matching. There's still a discord. And that's the thing that we solve inside the spiritual investor is that's a bridge, that's a gap. And so how do you, it's basically merging the world so that they're seamless. And when they're seamless, guess what? Everything is effortless. So that's what we want. Okay. So going back to, let's talk about what would I do right now? And you say this, what would a conscious investor do? Well, there's a couple things that I would say are market considerations right now. We have volatility in the market because we have the war going on, or our interaction within the war. Let's say that. So there's a lot of the geopolitical risk is heightened right now. That has caused the price of oil to go up, and that has caused inflation. The inflation report just came out that it's at 3%, which is a little bit higher than it was. And before this, that number was slightly going down, 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 with the idea being the Fed really wants it at 2%. They don't want it at 2%. They want it bouncing around because they understand that inflation is dynamic. So what's happened is we're seeing some inflation, but it is related to oil prices. Now, this could be a blip. If it's a blip, then what will happen is things will likely just bounce back to where we were. And I would say where we were, the market was actually quite boring. I've been saying this for 3 years now. Keep investing, the market's boring. Keep investing, the market's boring. And that has been true, right? We have had over 20% gain for the last 3 years, not talking about this year, which we are early into still. But it's been one of those things where there's always something going on, but when I say it's boring, I say it's not something that has been like really market shifting that's gone on. Even in the tariffs back in April, that to me felt very temporary. That was my biggest investing month because you can feel that. And hopefully that's part of what you're picking up here is not only the confidence to go out there and be an investor. I don't want you on the sidelines. I don't want everybody else getting wealthy and then you're not. And also just the intuition of, so once you start hearing these things, the intuition that you can also read between the lines. So volatility is actually good in my opinion. Why? Because what it does is it takes the scaredy cats off the table. What it does that's maybe good or not good, you can't really say, is it causes trader activity to look different because a lot of times they're just trying to clean up positions and move money around. So it can cause the market to sort of skew itself a little bit. But whenever something gets scrambled, here's the deal. There's always an opportunity inside of it because there's always going to be the people who stand on the sidelines. I really like to buy stocks that I like. I have like a handful of stocks that I just love and I just buy over time. Well, when the market dips, I'm going to buy more of those. That my entire life, I've been investing for over 20 years, and that has always, always served me well. Always, no matter what. And showing up in money neutrality is also a really great practice during market volatility. If the market drops and you're not buying, then that's an opportunity to ask yourself, to look at yourself, why? If the market goes up and you're not buying, that's an opportunity to look at yourself because whatever you're doing in those situations, you're doing all the time. And so this is about discovering, you discovering you. Another thing is time. I say you're doing it all the time. We get stuck in time with the market and we go, well, maybe next Wednesday is a better time to buy, or I'll wait until this, I'll wait until that. Historically speaking, the best investors are the ones that just continue to see it as an investing account is just a big fire that you've built, and your job is to go out and get more wood to put on the fire. Keep putting more money at it. If you want, something that I sometimes do is if I feel like the market is a little like hyped, I'll still buy, but I'll buy less, but I'm still keeping up with my practice of that. So consider that. Also, don't get stuck in time that investing is all about just the future. That's not true at all. And the people who have investing accounts will tell you this all day long, that you are making money in the now. Now, Does that mean you don't take it out into the future? Perhaps. Hopefully you will start making money and you'll take on that wood on the fire analogy that I just said. But don't not do it because you think that it's a future thing, because honestly, that's an illusion. I could talk about that all day long. And part of the taking the power away from you that's been going on in the financial industry for I don't know how many years. I mean, it's like even just the way that the economy is designed, it's like you need to work your whole life so that you can not work. You need to work your whole life until 65 and then you enter the medical system. So basically the economy's, reaping the benefit either way. Like, I think we're not only waking up from a consciousness level, but we're waking up to that as well. But you have to wake up to that in order to be able to decide and get that plan designed for yourself so that you can actually then take that back into the 3D. So let's talk about that for a minute. So, because the second thing that I said was that I wanted to talk to you about pulling the energy down and where's that path of effortless wealth for you. So, something that's been coming up in my life recently is how just divinely designed and fun it is actually when I do two things. I look at my own attachments, and I do this quite a bit inside of relationships, but you can do this with money too, because that is, in fact, anything is a relationship that you have a story about and that you've made meaning with, right? So, it's with me, it's looking at my attachments and then going, well, when I create a win-win situation, the funny thing is my attachments, they go away. Why? Because I'm not relying on something to happen inside of the situation for the other person to win. It's like that's already taken care of. So, as a creator, if I see my job as creating a win win situation for everyone involved, then I feel like it's an oar that's been dropped in the water that sort of floats away from the boat. That's what I feel like. I feel like my attachments are just like that. They're naturally just being taken away from me. And that's the way that you want it to work, because you can't focus on your attachment because your attachment is lack. It's lack of light. And so you focus on that, then you're not bringing in more light when you focus on that, because you're focusing on the lack of light. You're focusing on effectively what we'd say is dark. So see how that lands for you. Um, I could go into a little bit more of a personal detail, and maybe I will, if you guys send me some messages and you're like, hey, explain this a little bit more, reach out to me on Instagram, and, I'll see what we can come up with there from there. But just really, really look at that, and really look at that in terms of your money. A win-win situation with money would be, where are the areas where you've been avoiding money? Because it's always bringing that money back in close to you, because you're bringing in the energy. When you bring the energy in close to you, you actually have jurisdiction over it, right? You could do something about it. So, okay. So going back to these market dependencies, because I want to take you a little bit deeper in what are the things that you're looking for that just go beyond the news. We all know right now, like, everything political is in the news right now. Everything like related to, Iran and overseas, and even the things that are happening here in the US. It's just like really blaring in our face right now. But that's not what drives the market. That's what causes the volatility in the market and the sort of emotion in it. But what's really driving it is, right now, I would say, is interest rates. It's estimated that interest rates will drop 1 to 2 times this year. Private credit, private credit, people are starting to look at, well, if that starts to fracture just a little bit, then, should we make decisions in a different way? Cost of living, long-term unemployment due to AI, how's that going to affect that? And I would say inflation driven by energy costs. So those are the things that I'm always looking at and kind of like moving around. I'm always buying, but what's happening is I'm shifting what stocks I buy, and the different sectors even that I go in. There are 11 market sectors based on that. Now, what's exciting that's coming up is we're getting ready to go into earnings season. Now, earnings have been fantastic, and it is expected that earnings will still be fantastic, because that's the thing. While you might think that the financial system is all about like the emotion of the news, it's really not. And that's one of the other things that wealthy people tend to understand, is that politics is not finance. It becomes finance when you're making financial decisions based on it. But I would encourage you to disconnect those two worlds, because from a finance perspective, companies are doing great. I mean, more than great if we look at and we compare now to history. So earnings season comes out. If we even if we do have the emotion of the news, can you look at the earnings and then can you make decisions on that? Because it could even be an advantage to you if you could, because if people are in fear and they're not buying, then what happens is demand goes down and the stock prices go down. So you could be getting some share prices at a little bit lower, right? Now, if the politics thing has been, or the geopolitical stuff has been cleared up, then we could just be focused on earnings. Then we're probably going to have a stronger market in that case. Where I'm really going here is I am teaching you money neutrality from a practical perspective right now. If you understand the things that you're looking at, and it's just like playing a game of chess, if you understand how to move the pieces around, then you have the power. And if you have the power, you're much more likely to be in money neutrality, which is the greatest opening to money. And that is how you step into effortless wealth. So, what would I do right now? If I were in your position, I would lean into the 3 questions that I gave you at the beginning. What answers come from those? I would keep buying, even if you're buying smaller amounts and larger amounts. Allow yourself the leeway to do that, but don't allow yourself to not buy. And I would practice seeing where are the attachments in your relationship, the relationships that you can let go, as a practice of letting go. Because everything, whether it's love, money, health, it's all a state of allowing. And so what you're doing is, even though it doesn't feel directly connected, you are increasing your state of allowing in one area, which then goes into your state of allowing in another area. So thank you for being here, spending the time, and co-creating this. I will see you on the next episode. So much love to you.